US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson just finished a visit to South Asia, and the ripples of that visit are continuing in the region. One of the things that was very obvious was that the relationship between US and Pakistan, which he visited, is not going to be business as usual anymore. He actually gave a specific list of demands from Pakistan, and then he traveled to India. From India, he is expecting more of an action from New Delhi in terms of curtailing the insurgency in Afghanistan. Reza, what do you make of the visit of Rex Tillerson to the South Asian subcontinent?
Well, clearly, if there was a need to drive home the change in the US policy for South Asia and Afghanistan, that has been done. This was a very substantive visit. He went to all the three countries that are in the picture. He was in Afghanistan, he was in Pakistan, he was in India, and possibly the most substantive part of the visit was in India, where he met Prime Minister Modi, he met National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj. And there was a very, very clear message that went out on all the three stops of this visit, that Pakistan would have to step up its efforts to counter terrorists and extremists operating from its soil.
So the twofold question that I have, and I will ask them separately. One is that, is it too early for India to rejoice about this visit to Pakistan?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, Tillerson sent out a very clear message that the US wants action against terrorists operating from Pakistani soil. But there was no indication that this action would also have to be taken against anti-India groups such as Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. These groups were not named by Tillerson, nor did Tillerson mention India's concerns. All he said was that Pakistan has to crack down on terrorists operating from its soil and work for bringing the peace process online in Afghanistan.
When it comes to Afghanistan, one of the things that we noticed about India's attitude is that there is a bit of a hesitation in actually joining any effort at peace that involves men in boots or boots on the ground or anything that is military. We are interested, New Delhi is interested in humanitarian assistance and other infrastructure assistance and developing the country, not exactly joining the war against the insurgency in Afghanistan. So
I think that all goes back to India's disastrous experience with the Indian peacekeeping force in Sri Lanka. And that was something that really, it still preys on the minds of Indian politicians and also on Indian military decision makers. We really didn't have a very good experience in Sri Lanka, and our first effort at regional peacekeeping was, India's first experience at regional peacekeeping was, it was not exactly a complete disaster, but it was something that resulted in a lot of casualties. It's something that India doesn't want to repeat. However, there has been a slight change in India's policy towards Afghanistan, where, they have now taken a decision to supply military hardware too. We have supplied attack helicopters. But as you said, we are still very chary about putting boots on the ground.
My last question to you is regarding the dangers of the United States trying to bring in India in a South Asia policy that is largely focused on Afghanistan. The danger of Pakistan getting closer to its all-time, all-weather ally, China, for the security needs, which actually creates a situation where you have a neighbor, you have two big neighbors, China and Pakistan, who are already in some sort of a military alliance, versus India and US joining in the fight against the insurgency in Afghanistan.
This is actually, it's something that may be unavoidable, maybe. There are already very, very strong linkages between Pakistan and China. These are people who call themselves Iron Brothers and all-weather allies. So it's going to be very, very difficult to, say that this is not going to happen. The US has already signaled that it wants India to play a much larger role in the region. The two sides have been moving closer. Pakistan feels rather cut up about it. So, this is something, as I said, which may be unavoidable. But India has to make sure that whatever it does on its own terms and conditions. It should be a key player. It shouldn't be, doing things, that fit the US, just the US strategy. The US has various reasons for being in Afghanistan. Some of those we share. I mean, the issue of security and, terrorist safe havens. But what India has to ensure is that its own foreign policy priorities should take first place, and that's how our entire engagement in this region should move forward.
The relationship between US and Pakistan has been one of alliance, continues to be a non-NATO ally of the United States, and it was at the forefront of the war on terrorism that started after the 9/11 terror attacks. But the situation is changing. United States is now going to put the relationship or describe the relationship as conditional on Pakistan acting against terrorists like the Taliban or the Haqqani network or various other organizations, some of which is very cheering, some of which is very good for India. But when India is getting a tighter embrace from the United States, it also brings in other headaches for the region, the way it had in the past in various other regions. This is a new relationship that we will have to wait and watch very closely. Thanks for watching.